Welcome back to the Health and Wealth Podcast. I'm Ana Ramos, and I'm honored that you're joining us today. Today's conversation starts with something simple, and perhaps something we often forget. Something we need to consider before strategy, before systems, before growth. Relationships. Not in a business or a soft skill kind of way, but in a very human way, a very fundamental way, a way that's been hardwired into us. In a world where wealth is often defined by what we produce and what we accumulate, today's episode asks a different question. What if the quality of our relationships is actually the foundation of our well-being? My guest today is Ernesto Mandowsky, founder of Momentum Driving Machine. Ernesto's work is at the intersection of relationships and smart systems. He's in the business of helping organizations grow their revenue, referrals, and retention through CRMs, but not in a way you might think. Not in a way that's about managing relationships, but in a way that's about honoring relationships. Today's episode is about why relationships are a fundamental part of who we are, why relationships become transactional, and what happens to us when this happens, and how disconnection quietly drains us, even if we look successful on the outside. We'll also explore what it means to have an optimal number of relationships, the tension between our personal and professional relationships, and how systems intended to help us grow might actually be hurting us. And finally, we'll get to something very practical, something very simple, something very necessary. How do we start? This is a conversation about relationships as infrastructure, about relationships as a pillar for harmony in all areas of our lives. So, take a breath, settle in, and let this conversation meet you where you are today. Let's begin. Ernesto, welcome to the Health and Wealth Podcast. It is such an honor to have you. I was so jazzed when I talked to you, and I'm like, would you be on the podcast to talk about, should I say it now, relationships? And you said yes. I loved it. So welcome.
I didn't just say yes. I said hell yes.
You did, and I love that about you. And, I remember when I first met you, it was at a breakfast that a colleague of ours actually put together, and it was just about conversations and meeting people. And when I met you, I was like, I like this guy. I want to talk to him more.
And 2.5 years later, here we are.
And here we are. And I can't wait to get back to Miami. I'm in Mexico City, waiting for my house to be ready in Miami, which is over a year late, but that's okay. That's too shall pass. It allowed me to live and experience another beautiful culture. And, we're talking about relationships in this particular podcast. And Ernesto, I have to tell you, I can't wait to tell you everything that I've been through here and the relationships that I built. And it's just, it opened my mind to even a new level of connection with people. So let's talk a little bit about connection. Let's open up this podcast. I truly believe that as human beings, and you even said this in your book and in our conversations, that we as human beings are wired. It is in our DNA to have relationships, to thrive in relationships. So talk to us a little bit about that, because you even wrote about it in your book.
Yeah, so relationships has been since the dawn of humanity. I mean, people survived in a tribe, and that has not disappeared. Even in today, like there's so many tribes out there. We have social media tribes, and we have in-person tribes, and we have religion, and we have community gatherings, and it's just such a core part of the experience, especially in COVID, when a lot of the in-person gathering was taken away from people. You saw a lot of sad or not so encouraging news. People were really lonely. They were in solitude. And as the world started to open back up again, there was kind of this resurgence. So I really think that connection piece is so paramount to the human experience.
I love the fact that you brought that aspect about COVID, because I think that to some degree, we all suffer from it, but I don't know if we acknowledged it or became present as to what it was. in working with people and working with corporations and helping them build these relationships, through the systems that you offer. Talk to us about what you saw happen in terms of even the neural aspect of us as human beings. What happens to us when we do become isolated, and why in today's world we talk about build your tribe. You said it yourself. Talk a little bit more about that, because I think that's such a relevant point in today's world.
Well, I think something that I saw happen during COVID. So people were alone, people were lonely, they were inside their homes. And so you saw so many online gatherings flourish because people wanted that community. They wanted to connect with one another. What work? I mean, remote work, everything just started going online. And one, that's a testament to show that, like, we still want to be in connection. But something that has continued to develop after COVID is that people have continued to be online, even though the world has kind of opened up.
Right.
And so, many people have gone back in person, but many people are staying online. And I think it's not necessarily a bad thing, but what happens is we have kind of become a little bit obsessed with creating more relationships, and we've kind of started to hoard our connections and try to keep up with everything. And so the anxieties that were felt during COVID of being alone now have kind of evolved into a different kind of anxiety of, oh my God, I have so many relationships, so many online friends that I made during COVID. Now I have to keep up with all of them. And that has kind of created a new devil to deal with.
I love the fact that you brought that, because, in our conversations and also reading your book, I love your book, by the way. You talked about optimal relationships. So, us as human beings, there's an optimal number of relationships that we can handle. And you're like the first one I actually read talk about that, right? Tell us a little bit more. Like, how did you come? Tell us about what that is, and then tell us how you came into it.
So I did not come up with the number. I discovered it from another guy. His name's Robin Dunbar, and he calls it Dunbar's number. And that number is 150. So he has all the science, all the data, the PhD that kind of proves our brain can only efficiently keep up with 150 people at one time. And so if you think about, okay, 150 people, like maybe I have 10 people in my immediate family, on average. Um, Maybe I have, I don't know, 30 clients. Maybe I have 70 people that I'm seeing in my local community through networking and or volunteering and or other things. And then maybe, we're already now at about 100. So you have 50 seats left that you can fill, maybe additional clients, maybe vendors, maybe different people that you're building your business with. That like would have been normal in the 1800s when you're living in a town or in a city, but you're really in like a neighborhood. Like that's very normal. But today, we are on social media. We have email inboxes. We probably have like 4 email inboxes. We have clients that have other stakeholders, and we're all trying to keep up with 500, 700, 1,000, 5,000 contacts in our lives. Like we're trying, we're like bullshitting ourselves that we're like, oh yeah, I'm following 8,000 people on Instagram. It's like, are you really? Like, what are you doing? And so I see this time and time again, and I kind of keep telling my clients, they're like, oh, I want to add everyone who signs up for my newsletter into my CRM. I'm like, do you really want to keep up with that person? Like, what about signing up for a newsletter means they're actually interested in you? And so
Yeah.
it's kind of like a shift in mindset and identifying what are these indicators where someone, it's not that they're worth or not worth, because everyone's worth, but it's a matter of prioritization. Like if you only have 150 coins to give out, and every time you give one out, you have to take one away, like you really have to be conscious with who's getting these coins.
I mean, that was like, pff, you blew my mind when you said that, because, I mean, okay, you didn't come up with a number, great. But the fact that you brought it to light. And, when I was working at the bank and all of a sudden I inherited someone's book or the whatever position that book was there, and it was like 5,000, 10,000. I was like, how am I supposed to know these people? I can't know them, and for the longest time, even running the wealth management side of things, it's, I've kept the boutique, I kept it small for that reason, because I don't want to lose that connection that I have. The fact that I know sometimes I know them better than they know themselves, honestly, through conversations that we have. So what happens, and by the way, now that I'm growing, it's kind of like, okay, who do I step out of the relationships? Because I've noticed that the more I grow in terms of the relationships, right, what ends up happening is that you do end up losing contact with people. So what happens, because you've done this a lot with companies and people, what happens when we exceed that capacity, when we go past that 150 number?
Well, when we exceed, we start to drop the ball. We just don't get back to that person, or we don't get to that comment on Instagram, or we don't write the email back to that person. But this is why it goes back to that prioritization. It's like, of those 150 people, how many of them are your ideal clients? When I work with clients, for example, like I kind of reverse engineer. So most of my clients are small business owners. They're like solopreneurs or very small teams, and maybe they're at 150,000 in revenue and they want to earn 400,000 in revenue. And so I asked them, how are you going to do that? Like, is it like going 2.5 times the amount of people? It's not a wrong answer, but that's kind of challenging some of the things that we're talking about. Because if you have 50 clients, for example, and now you have to go 2.5, like you're almost gonna get to that 150 number. And so this is where you said I want, when I grow my business and I get more intimate with certain clients, like you maybe are identifying, of your 5,000 clients, who are the 50 that you're managing over $1 million in assets, or over a certain amount in assets. This is where we get to choose, okay, I'm going to work with 20 clients, and these 20 clients are going to pay me whatever, $20,000. And that's how I'm going to get 20 clients to $400,000. And it's very simple. And then the question becomes, how do I take my price or my offering or the value of whatever I do from $3,000 to $20,000? And that's like a huge, like crazy shift. But it's really no different, the question of, how do I go from an entry-level salary at a company to being a director? How am I going to contribute that much more value? And when you answer that question, you yourself will become more valuable to society. You're able to like give more. You're able to impact more people. And so that was my, I guess, roundabout way of saying, it's like, it's not what happens when you go over the limit. It's like, think about your target. Like, you will go over the limit. Everyone will always go over the limit because they're trying to like pick up new clients. But is that getting you closer to your goal?
So I'm gonna turn this around a little bit on you. And how do we apply that in our personal lives? How do we take that knowledge that happens from a business perspective, which is where your forte is? How do we apply that to the personal relationships of people that we surround ourselves with?
Shameless plug. I know I've been inviting you, but you've been having your tour around the world. I host this workshop every quarter where we teach people how to bake bread. And while the bread is, while the dough is forming, we do a goal setting workshop for your like a personal goal setting workshop. It's not like a business workshop. It's, I have these 3 objectives that I want to achieve in my personal life. The simple way is like, I say, what's your goal? What are the 5 to 7 activities that need to get done? And who are 2 to 3 people that can help you move closer to that priority? And so when you align your priorities with these relationships, it becomes so much easier to now recognize, oh, if I have this objective of becoming a sourdough bread master, whatever. I pick so I love baking, obviously, and I want to learn.
I know you do.
And so, I'm gonna think in my network like, oh, who loves to bake sourdough? And it's like, oh, Brian loves to bake sourdough. So I'm gonna tell Brian about this objective or goal that I have, and that's going to bring us in connection. And so when you think about the priorities you have, you can now use those as the compass through how call in certain relationships into your life.
I love the fact that you said compass because, one of the things that I've come to realize through just doing the podcast and talking with people is that we all have our true north, right? And that true north is our compass. And we've discovered through it, and I've discovered myself that we all have that answer. We know what our true north is. It's just that we're not present to it. And, sometimes we're so busy with information overload, right? Relationship overload, information overload, that we lose our true compass. And so what you're calling compass, what I'm calling my true north, is what you also said in your workshops that you do. There's like, what are the goals? What are you really trying to achieve? And what fulfills your soul? What makes your soul happy? In working with clients, as you begin to work, because the work that I do, yes, it is on the finance world, but it also affects our everyday relationships, right? Our everyday living. And one of the things that people have constantly said to me is that as I begin to move towards my goals, what happens is that certain people I just don't connect with anymore. And I have new people that I do. And sometimes I feel bad because I don't want to end those relationships. Talk a little bit about that. Because one of the things that you said always is that a CRM, which please do let us know later what a CRM is, because some people don't. A CRM honors relationships versus managing them. So talk to us a little bit more. What happens when we begin to shift and work on our goals and work on the things that serve us? What happens to relationships in general, right? As we begin to move forward. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what a CRM is.
Life is an evolution. I mean, I have friends in college that live in the same city as me, and we don't keep up as much because I'm now an entrepreneur going my own path, and they're climbing up the ladder of their company, and just the interests change. It doesn't mean that the relationship goes away. It just means maybe it becomes dormant. It's kind of like what I said, when you give a coin to one person, you're taking it from someone else. It doesn't mean you'll never give it back. It's just kind of like, okay, you've drifted away for a bit, but maybe you can come back at a future point when our stars or our priorities realign again. For even this friend, or many of my friends, they're not really interested in like hiring me for a CRM, or maybe they don't know anyone who needs that service, but maybe they want to come and bake bread with me.
Right.
Maybe they want to come and like learn how to do that for themselves, and maybe they want to set personal goals. So you can't really control other people and how their interests change, but you can control something that you do for yourself. And so this, I like firmly believe that every individual could benefit from having what I call a growth-filled gathering, a gathering where people come together to grow, to develop, not necessarily as professionals, but just grow, expand, create new possibilities. That's how I think about like when relationships go up and down. With respect to how do you find that?
No, I think that's interesting because as you're talking and I'm hearing what you're saying, at least my interpretation of what I'm hearing what you're saying is that you basically, you're okay with letting relationships go. You're okay with whether they go away from your life or whether they become dormant, because you're very focused in what you're trying to accomplish and enjoying that moment. So like your true north is really relationships, but relationships that serve you.
Correct. Well, right now I have two true norths or misogis, or one line like goals that I'm absolutely pursuing.
What is it?
One is
Share it.
one is with my business. One is to make $1 million in one day.
In one day. Amazing.
In one day, generate $1 million. And the other one in one day is to host that workshop for 2,000 people in one day.
I love that.
And so when I think about those two kind of North Stars, it's like, okay, my singular focus for this workshop is to grow it to the point where you're hosting it for 2,000 people. How now can I think about the relationships that will move me closer to that? And it doesn't, it's not going to be like, hey, Anna, like, do you know anyone that can help? I'm not necessarily going to ask you directly for that North Star, but it's like, hey, Anna, do you want to come to this workshop? Fun workshop. And you can come and you can experience it like, wow, that was amazing. Now you can maybe tell 5 people about the workshop. And then those 5 people can then tell 5 people. And so you have to like really think about, you can share your North Star, but sometimes people won't really know how they can help you. So it goes back to you as to how do you present the information that another person will be like, yeah, that's a hell yeah. I wanna get involved. I want to help you out.
So I have a question for you. How does your true north or your North Star make you feel? You're like, this is my North Star. Why is it that that's your North Star? Why is it that you want to, what is it that you're going to feel, or what do you feel in the process of focusing on your North Star?
Well, I recently heard the Tony Robbins, Alex Hormozi interview. Did you hear about it?
I haven't,
So
but I'll have to look at it.
Tony Robbins, Alex Hormozi is like entrepreneur celebrity now, and
No, I know who he is, but
I
haven't heard of the interview.
Well, you might, but the listeners maybe don't. So, anyways, Tony Robbins like coaches him to like think back to a moment in your life where you had this joy, this magic, and so I did that for myself. And when I was 18, I hosted a party at a big hotel here at the Hard Rock Hotel, and the Guitar before it was the Guitar, and we had 2,000 people under one roof. And in one night, I had all these people come together to celebrate their graduation, and it was like such a rush of energy for me as like being like the host of the space. And that night was when I said, I'm gonna do hospitality. I'm gonna like really focus on bringing people together. And so I've set this North Star as kind of like recreating that one key moment in my life. And I know that when I can do that as a 35, 36-year-old, it will be that much more impactful for the 2,000 people I bring together than 2,000 high schoolers. Like I think of it as like an exponential milestone.
I love that. I love the fact that you can relate it to that, right? And what at that moment felt joyous to you, because it's our personal joy is connected to our purpose, right? And sometimes we got to really reflect back and really quiet our space and figure out what our true purpose is and what truly brings us joy. So by the way, for me does this make my soul smile? So that's my true north. And I now go through life and just, does this make my soul smile? And if it doesn't, I just let it go out of my life in a beautiful, grateful way, and I just send it away, right? So let's switch over to a little bit about CRMs. First and foremost, do share what a CRM is, the notion of what a CRM is. And one of the things that I love the most about you, Ernesto, is that you literally say a CRM is supposed to honor a relationship. So, as we look at the business side of life, right, and we have CRMs, let's talk to us a little bit about that. And then I want you to go back and think, us as human beings, because our DNA is relationships, how do we CRM our lives, right? How do we CRM our brains so that we can actually optimize those relationships?
Yeah, so most people, the formal definition of a CRM is a customer relationship management system. It is what businesses use to manage their relationships with customers. And I find that as a scarce definition. It's very limiting. There are actually so many more types of people that help you, not just customers. You are not a customer of mine, and you are helping me tremendously by inviting me here and speaking. And so I think of the word CRM, or the phrase, and I see it as collaborator relationship maximization. So that's a handful, but it's collaborators. It's not just clients. It's vendors, it's partners, it's promoters, it's partners, it's providers. Like there's so many people in your world that you are bringing together to either launch your business or throw a party, like I just shared a bit ago.
So it's your tribe. Your CRM is your tribe.
It's your tribe. It's your tribe. And it's not, managing is just like, okay, cool. Anna and I met at a breakfast. Like, okay, like, how are you? Just checking in, just like managing, making sure it's like status quo and it's fine. That's like kind of old news. The question is like, how do you take it further? How do you push the envelope? How do you really grow and expand? You maximize. And so when you said, hey, come on my podcast, I interpreted that as, hey, I want to help you share your story. I want to help you lean into the story more. And I was like, hell yeah. So it's about finding those people, those 150 people, and working with them. I call them your hustlers, your 100 hustlers. Those are the people that you're really going to like run to the moon with. And those are the funnest relationships, I think, to keep nurturing and maximizing.
I agree with you. And I'm glad I made it to the 150 mark. I'm in that 150 mark. Ernesto, one of the biggest myths, right? And I've thought my industry that I'm in, because and I think corporate in general is about keep your life separate, your personal life, keep those separate from your business life. Those relationships have nothing to do with one another. Is that a myth? It's not a myth. Tell us more.
I mean, companies have to tell you that because they want to protect themselves from the liability of just in case anything happens between your personal life and your business life. If information from your business life goes into your personal, the company is protected in theory. As an entrepreneur, it's not, there's no wall. Like, it is your life. It is like, it's all part of you. So, I don't think there's you work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and then you plug off, and then, like, it's life. It's life, and you happen to be working at some points, and at other points you're not working. I think it was a myth created in the 70s or 80s or whatever it was, just to protect companies.
That's an interesting perspective, because as we think of this magical number of relationships, is it, oh, do I have 150 at work? Do I have 150 personally? And the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, whether, we're in a personal level or a business level, we're still a human, right? And we can only handle so much as human beings. And so it's this notion that you're giving, it's mind-blowing to me, because now, just like I become aware of what my true north is, now I'm going to look at relationships very different. And what happened? I just have one quick question for you on this. What happened when you read about that magical number? What did it do for you? Like, did it create ease? Did it create a sense of breath? What did it do for you the minute that you learned that? Because I know what it did for me, but I want to hear from you what it did for you, because you are now applying it to everything that you do.
It gave me permission to let go. It was okay to not keep up with everyone. And it was also, it was in fact encouraged to think about, okay, who are the 30 people that you're gonna not give a $3,000 offer to, but a $30,000 offer to. And so then I had to kind of rethink back to myself. It's like, how can I increase the value of what I do for people?
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And you now have a new little soul into your life. How did that affect your shift in looking at relationships?
And he became the priority. So a lot of people, it's not that they fell away, just they only have headspace. I only have I have that much less headspace to distribute when that much headspace is being focused on my son.
Yeah, and it's going back to what you're saying. Life evolves, right? And so as you add a new life, a new relationship, a new love into your life, right? It's like you're saying, give yourself permission. It's okay to let go of something else that no longer serves you, right? That it's no longer helping you to get to where you as a person are trying to get to. So, what I get from all this is that relationships equals presence, right? And so one of the things that I said in this podcast is that I want to give people biohacks, right? I want people to be able to, in biohacks, the way I look at biohacks is not just the medical terminology, but it's like, what are some of the quick things that we can do in order to, whatever the topic is that we're discussing, in this case, relationships, what are the quick things? What are the biohack or biohacks that we can do? And then as we connect further, right? As we honor those relationships, what's the one thing that we can do that will really be impactful, that you've seen that would be impactful in someone's life, that makes them come closer into your tribe and the 150 people you want to have around you?
Okay, so there's three things, very specific. Usually people think of biohacks and it's like, oh, like putting butter coffee or MCT or plunge, and it's like, okay, not that much bio. But the first one is take out a piece of paper and write down just the 15 relationships, like the 15 most important relationships that you have. And then put a date of when you're going to get in contact with them, and then what you're going to speak to them about. Just very simple. 15 relationships, put a date, what you're going to talk about. That just subconsciously, biologically, is just already telling you who your brain thinks is like the top 15. The more extended exercise is, grow that list to 150, but this is quick biohacks, you said. The second one is you have to spend every day 10 minutes meditating, just thinking about each of these people as they relate to you in your life and the role they play. And the third one is have your cards and write people handwritten cards and send it to them. And this is what really tells people, hey, it's someone took 5 minutes to think about me and write something and send it to me. And those three things, I think, will help you take your relationships to the next level.
Ernesto, I can't top that off. I think that was just such a beautiful way to just, a lot of times we don't know where to start, or there's a lot of people that just listen to podcasts and books on well-being, and, but sometimes we don't know where to start. And I think that's such a beautiful way to tell people where to start. And obviously read your book. It's very short, it's quick, and you did a great job, writing it, putting it together. And I'm really looking forward to getting back to Miami, getting back into our relationships, our business, but it's more than anything, just the time that we've been able to just get to know each other and grow this relationship, even though it's not on the personal level, it's more on the business side. Who knows what's going to come out in the future, right? But I'm so grateful that we had that original cup of coffee together.
You really just want to come and get a loaf of bread, don't you?
Of course I do. Just make sure it's sourdough, because I can't do too much gluten. So please, please, please.
Oh, we have the gluten-free option available.
Oh, I'm there. I'm taking a flight right now, tomorrow. But Ernesto, thank you so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to conversing more with you on this.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye. As we come to the end of this conversation, I want to resist the urge to give you something to do. Instead, I'll offer you something to notice. The relationships that feel steady, the ones that feel strained, and the ones that may simply be asking for a little more presence. What I appreciated most about this conversation with Ernesto is the reminder that relationships aren't something we optimize or even manage. There's something we tend to, intentionally, over time, often in very small ways. If well-being is about harmony across lives, then relationships aren't a side pillar. They're the connective tissue. They shape how safe we feel, how supported we are, and how we show up both personally and professionally. So perhaps the question to sit with after listening isn't how do I build better relationships, but something softer. Where might I slow down enough to really connect with someone this week? Thank you for spending time with us today. And Ernesto, thank you for the reminder that connection isn't a strategy or a system, but something deeply human, something we're wired for, even if we sometimes forget. Until next time, this is Health and Wealth.